I want you to take a person who takes $2,000 a month, for example. Their mortgage is $1,000 a month. They've got to eat. They turn around and they get a second house at $800 a month, and it's rented for a while. Now, what happens when the renter moves out? There's a record amount of empty housing in the United States right now. Families have moved in with other families to make it through these times. People have left gigantic houses for small apartments. Mobile homes are renting at a greater pace than in the past. A lot of people living in motorhomes left a house with a mortgage they couldn't afford to go into the motorhome. There's $1 million homes that have been on the market for years and they can find no buyer. This is happening all across the country. Your renter just moved out. You go inside and you find out that there's holes in the walls, water damage in the bathroom, and you advertise to get another renter. The renter comes in and the drywall work's still getting worked on, and the water damage, they want that touched up. They're worried about mold. The potential tenants want that touched up before they'll move in. The half dozen other renters that they called are willing to give a deposit waiver to top it all off. This is putting that person in a really difficult situation because all of a sudden they don't have grocery money and they're desperate to sell a house. This is the circumstance that is going to happen in excess. A negative circumstance to somebody who's just trying to develop a life for themselves, make some investments. They're going to hurt if they lose a house and they lose the equity. It might not be a good time to sell a house, depending where you're at. It's happening. It's already happening, okay? We don't want to say it's happening, but it's happening. What do we need to do here? Here's what we need to do. We need to buck up. If you have an empty rental and your livelihood is dependent on getting that rental rented out, if you took too many mortgages and you can't make your loans, it's time to work that second job. You work in the morning, 9 to 5? Great. Pick up a 6 to 10. Talk to your boss about being able to sneak off for 10 minutes, 15 minutes to eat a dinner. It's time to do that. It's time to leave the kids with grandma. Time for grandma to make babysitting money, okay? She's getting Social Security. Guess what? Her Social Security is not enough to live on now. She needs some babysitting money, okay? Pick up the second job. We need some of those old-fashioned work ethics instilled into our kids anyway. It's time to do that. We've all got to buck up. It is time for productivity. It's time to bring the wagon to the market. You can't sell out of an empty wagon. If you have any type of product or service that's of value to anybody, I want you to get it out there on the market. I want you to be as productive as you possibly can be. I want you to turn off your television. A lot of great things on television. I'd love to be thrown on television someday, but can you watch TV and be productive at the same time? Is the TV on while you're auctioning things for profit? Is the TV on where you assemble or work on a craft, where you create and design an art? What are you doing? Are you producing something? Is it a barterable, tangible product that could be sold, bartered, traded, bought for cash? Could you trade it for food? Could you trade it for food? Could you trade it for rent? What could you do with your product or service? How could you barter it? Do you have a product or service, but you don't know how to turn that product or service into cash so that you can take the cash and catch up on utility bills? People are being devastated by utility bills right now. Here's something I want to mention. If you can't afford utility bills, but you've got a 50-inch TV blaring all day long, but you can't afford your utility bill, you better check into that. You better check into that. All right? I've got a 25-inch TV. I'm just being honest with you. Anything bigger than that, and I get some kind of an eye headache. I have no cable. I have no antenna. All I have is vintage movies and vintage VHS movies. Some of them are classics, antiques, if you want to call it antiques. I've got some late 1970s, 1980s westerns on VHS that are difficult to come by. That's my exposure to television. I mean, for years, I haven't had cable. There was a brief period of time I had cable in an office of mine in late 2006, early 2007. I canceled it because I wasn't using it. It was in my office. It distracted from my customers and my clients. So I canceled it. Is that good? Is it bad? I don't know. I've got along without it. Maybe my life is a little bit less entertaining, but I've really discovered myself. I've really found out some things that I'm passionate about.